Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching and please like and subscribe. The alarms of the starship Vastra were silent at first, just a low humming sound that usually meant engine tests. But Commander Lyris felt something different this time. Her instincts, sharp as the plasma spear she carried, told her the hum was wrong. It had a nervous rhythm, almost like the ship was trying to warn her before the real alarm went off. She stood in the long metal hallway, her silver skin reflecting the soft lights above. She was tall for her species, a trained warrior, respected and feared. But today, her attention was fixed on the quiet human standing beside her. Evan, her husband. He looked small compared to her, thin arms, soft features, plain brown eyes, and short dark hair that never stayed neat. He was dressed in a simple gray shirt and black pants, nothing like the armor her people wore. He carried no weapons. He always moved slowly, carefully, as if he didn't want to disturb anyone. A weak human, a gentle human, a harmless human. She had married him because of the peace bond treaty between their species. A symbolic marriage, a gesture of unity. Her people expected her to choose a partner from the human team that lived on the ship. She had chosen Evan because he seemed quiet, polite, and predictable. She expected nothing from him. She believed he had nothing to give. But even as she thought this, the hum grew louder, shaking the floor beneath them. Evan turned his head slightly. That's not an engine test. Before Lyris could answer, the real alarm exploded through the halls. Warning. Unidentified ships detected. Boarding sequence initiated. The lights dimmed. Red emergency beams flashed. Crew members rushed past them, weapons in hand. Heavy boots hit the floor. Panic filled the air like smoke. The starship was under attack. Lyris's heart immediately shifted into battle mode. She grabbed her plasma spear from her back, electricity crackling down its shaft. She looked at Evan, expecting fear, confusion, or at least a reaction. But he stood calmly, too calmly. "Evan," she ordered sharply. "You need to get to the safe chamber. Now." He did not move. His eyes were focused on the red lights overhead, not scared, just watching. "I will be fine," he said quietly. His voice was steady. It surprised her more than the alarm. "Humans cannot face what is coming," she snapped. "You will slow me down. Go." But he still didn't move. The ship shook violently as something massive hit the outer hull. A deep, metallic roar echoed through the corridors. Warriors around them stumbled, but Evan stayed perfectly balanced, like his feet were glued to the floor. That small detail hit Lyris like a strange whisper of warning, but she had no time to think. The Kragor Raiders were coming. A race known for brutal attacks, armored exoskeletons, and no mercy. Lyris turned to run toward the battle line, but Evan reached out and gently touched her arm. "Don't go that way." She froze. He had never touched her first before. His hand was warm, but his eyes, those simple brown eyes, held something she had never seen in a human. Certainty. "How do you know where they will enter?" she demanded. He didn't blink. "Because they're not boarding the ship at random. They're boarding because of me." She stared at him, stunned. Before she could question him, a metal gate near them exploded inward. Thick smoke blasted into the hallway, and from that smoke stepped a Kragor Raider, towering, armored, with 4 arms and sharp claws. The creature roared, its glowing red eyes locking onto Lyris. She raised her spear, but Evan stepped forward. "Get behind me," he said calmly. Lyris almost laughed. The weakest human on the ship stood between her and a monster that even trained warriors struggled to kill. "Evan, move," she shouted. He didn't. The Kragor warrior charged, claws up, ready to rip. Lyris prepared to lunge forward, until she saw something impossible. Evan's arm lifted, slow at first, then faster. Faster than any human should move. His hand caught the Kragor's wrist mid-strike. The impact shook the entire hallway. The warriors behind them gasped. Lyris's eyes widened so much they almost hurt. Evan stood firm, his feet unmoving, his body steady. The Kragor pushed with its full strength, roaring in fury. Evan did not move an inch. Then his eyes changed. They turned from plain brown to a bright metallic silver, glowing like polished steel heated in a forge. His voice was low when he spoke. "Leave, now." The Kragor tried to strike again, but Evan twisted its arm with a single sharp movement. Bones cracked, armor bent. The creature bellowed in pain. Evan stepped forward once, placing his hand on the Kragor's chest. A soft pulse of energy shot from his palm. The Kragor flew backward and crashed into a metal wall so hard it left a deep dent. Silence fell over the corridor. The crew stared. Lyris stared. Even the lights seemed to pause. Evan lowered his hand slowly, the glow in his eyes fading, though not completely. Lyris stepped closer, her voice soft and uncertain. That wasn't human strength. That wasn't even enhanced armor strength. What are you? He looked at her with an expression she had never seen from him before, not calm, not shy, not gentle. But tired. I didn't want you to see that, he said. She shook her head, gripping her spear tightly. Evan? Who are you? He breathed deeply, like he was preparing for something painful. Oh, you think humans are weak, he said quietly. You're not wrong. Most are. But I'm not like most. Another explosion hit the ship, this time even closer. Dust fell from the ceiling. Warriors shouted from nearby corridors. Lyris grabbed Evan's shoulder. Tell me now. He finally looked at her. I am APEX-01, he said. The first prototype. A human engineered to be stronger, faster, smarter. A weapon created to win wars without armies. Lyris felt her skin grow cold. A weapon? He nodded slowly. A living one. A project meant to make humans impossible to defeat. And you married me? She said, her voice shaking between disbelief and anger. Because I didn't want to be used anymore, he whispered. I wanted a normal life. You gave me that. Before she could respond, a thunderous boom shook the hallway. Another metal gate was smashed open, and 3 more Kragor Raiders stormed through. Lyris raised her spear, ready to fight beside him. But Evan stepped forward again. His voice was calm. They aren't here for your ship. They followed my energy signature. One of the Kragor pointed at him with a jagged claw. APEX-01. Found. Lyris's heart raced. The Kragor knew exactly who he was. Evan clenched his fists. Small arcs of silver energy crackled around his arms. Lyris saw everything clearly now. His calmness. His mysterious wounds healing too fast. His unusual strength. His perfect balance. His strange way of hiding pain. His eyes that never showed fear. He had been hiding all of it. The Kragor charged. Lyris moved to help, but Evan spoke sharply. Lyris, stay back. She hesitated, torn between obeying and fighting. If I release too much power, Evan warned, the ship might not survive it. Then he vanished. Not teleported. Just moved so fast he disappeared for a second. He reappeared behind the first Kragor, striking its back with a glowing hand. The creature collapsed instantly. The second swung at him, claws out. Evan ducked, twisted, grabbed its arm, and slammed it into the floor with unnatural strength. The third tried to retreat, realizing the danger too late. Evan jumped forward, effortless, nearly weightless, and struck its chest. The Kragor flew back several meters. In less than 10 seconds, all 3 raiders were down. Evan stood still, breathing slowly, his skin glowing faintly. His eyes dimmed again to brown, though the silver shimmer remained beneath the surface. Lyris approached him, her steps careful. Why didn't you tell me? She asked softly. Evan's voice was full of pain, not physical pain but emotional. Because I was tired of being treated like a weapon. I wanted you to see me as a person first. She swallowed hard. I did. I still do. But you should have trusted me. He looked away. I wanted to. But if people know what I am, everything changes. Before Lyris could speak again, the ship's structural lights flickered badly. A deep, rumbling growl echoed from the far hallway. Something huge was approaching. The warriors froze. The air grew heavy. Lyris tightened her grip on her spear. What now? Evan stepped forward, his voice quieter but more serious than ever. The Kragor sent their commander. The one who has been hunting me for years. A giant shadow appeared at the end of the corridor, massive, armored, 6-limbed, and twice the size of the other raiders. Its voice was deep, full of hatred. APEX-01. You cannot run anymore. Lyris's breath caught in her throat. The creature was powerful enough to tear the ship apart. Evan took 1 step forward. Silver light rose in his eyes again. Then I won't. The giant Kragor commander stepped into the corridor, its heavy metal boots shaking the floor with every step. Its armor was thicker than a star cruiser hull, glowing with red energy pulses that throbbed like a beating heart. Lyris had fought many enemies in her life, but she had never felt a presence so heavy, so full of rage, so alive with killing intent. The creature's 6 scarred arms clamped onto giant axes, each bigger than Evan's entire body. It pointed one of the blades at him. APEX-01, it growled, voice deep and vibrating. Your escape ends here. Evan didn't move. He stood calmly, not blinking, not stepping back. The dim silver glow returned to his eyes, soft at first, then brighter. Lyris positioned herself beside him, holding her plasma spear in both hands. We fight together, she said firmly. Evan shook his head gently. No, you stay behind. She frowned. I won't let you fight this thing alone. You might get hurt, Evan said. His voice was soft, but the urgency in it was sharp. Lyris tightened her grip on the spear. I'm a warrior. I know the risks. Evan looked at her then, really looked at her, with eyes full of something deep and honest. That's not why I want you safe, he whispered. Before she could answer, the Kragor commander roared and charged at them. In one heartbeat, it crossed 10 meters, raising all 6 arms to strike. The axes glowed with dark red energy, strong enough to slice through walls. Evan stepped forward. The axes fell with the force of meteors. The blow never landed. Evan lifted both of his hands and blocked them. Bare-handed. Lyris gasped. The metal floor cracked beneath Evan's feet. His arms trembled, not with fear, but with the incredible pressure of holding back all 6 axes at once. The Kragor commander pushed harder, its muscles bulging, its armor plates grinding. Impossible, it growled. You're only flesh. Evan's eyes turned brighter. Not just flesh. With a sudden burst of strength, Evan shoved the axes upward, forcing the massive creature back 2 steps. The commander snarled and swung again, but this time Evan dodged easily, moving so fast the air cracked behind him. Lyris watched in stunned silence. He was not fighting like a human. He wasn't even fighting like her species. He moved like light, fluid, fast, unafraid. He ducked under an axe, slid forward, and punched the Kragor commander in the chest. A shockwave exploded from the impact. The creature stumbled backwards, its armor cracking like glass. But the commander did not fall. It roared, raising its massive arms again. You think a single punch will stop me, Apex? Evan took a slow breath. No, but I'm done running. Lyris felt the air around him change again. The silver glow spread from his eyes to his arms, then across his whole body. His skin shimmered like metal warmed by the sun. Evan was unlocking more of his power. But then he hesitated. A small flicker of pain crossed his face. The Kragor commander saw that flicker and grinned. Your body cannot handle your full power, human. You were designed to die young. Evan's jaw tightened. Lyris's heart froze. Is that true? She whispered. Evan didn't look at her. Yes. The Kragor roared with laughter. He is a tool that burns itself. A weapon that destroys its own body. Lyris felt anger rise in her chest. Not at Evan, but at the idea of him living with that sentence. How long? She asked, voice trembling. Evan lowered his gaze. I don't know. Lyris stepped closer, placing her hand on his back. Then we survived together. All of us. Evan closed his eyes for a second, swallowing emotion. Then the Kragor commander charged again, cutting their moment short. It swung 2 axes at Lyris. Evan moved faster than thought, grabbing her and pulling her back just in time. The axes slammed into the floor, slicing through metal like paper. Lyris regained her footing and spun her spear, stabbing one of the creature's arms. Sparks flew, but the armor was almost too thick. The Kragor whirled toward her with a murderous glare. Evan appeared in front of her instantly. Don't touch her, he said. The glow in his eyes flared. His voice no longer belonged to a human. Evan slammed both palms into the ground. A pulse of silver energy shot out from him in all directions. The floor shook. The walls trembled. The shockwave hit the Kragor commander like a tidal wave, throwing it into the far wall with a crushing boom. Dust filled the air. Sparks flew from broken lights. Warriors in nearby corridors stumbled. Lyris shielded her eyes. When the dust cleared, Evan stood in the center of a glowing silver circle burned into the floor. His body was shining brighter now, almost painful to look at. But his breathing was heavy. Too heavy. Lyris stepped toward him quickly. Are you hurt? Evan shook his head, but she could see the strain on his face. This power, it wasn't meant to be used for long. Before she could speak, the Kragor commander rose from the rubble. Its armor was shattered. Black blood dripped from its mouth. But its eyes, its hateful glowing red eyes, were still burning strong. APEX-01, it growled, voice shaky but furious. You cannot kill me before your body breaks. It lifted its axes again. Evan took a step back. His legs shook. The glow around him flickered. Lyris saw fear then, not for himself, but for everyone around him. She stepped in front of him. Let me fight. He reached out weakly. Lyris? No? Yes, she said firmly. You're not alone. The Kragor commander roared and charged. Lyris met it head-on. Her spear clashed with the axes, sparks flying. The shockwaves rattled her bones. The creature swung wildly with all 6 arms. Lyris dodged, blocked, rolled, and struck back whenever she found an opening. But the commander was huge and furious. It slammed her into a wall. Pain shot through her shoulder. She gasped, but didn't fall. Evan tried to run to her, but he stumbled, nearly collapsing. He pushed himself back upright, his body glowing weakly. Lyris. She gritted her teeth, lifted her spear again, and charged the monster with all the strength she had left. For a moment, she held her ground. For a moment, her spear kept the axes away. For a moment, she was the warrior she had trained her whole life to be. But the Kragor was stronger. It raised 2 axes to strike her down, and then it froze. Because Evan had appeared behind it, he placed both hands on the back of its armor. And whispered, not her. A burst of pure silver energy exploded from his palms. The entire corridor lit up like a star going nova. The shockwave was silent, only a bright flash and then a deep, heavy thud. When the light faded, the Kragor commander was lying on the floor, motionless. Its armor was cracked open. Its axes lay in shattered pieces around it. The creature's red eyes were dark. The battle was over. Evan stood over it, swaying. His glow faded slowly, flickering like a candle in the wind. Lyris rushed to him and caught him before he fell. He leaned into her, exhausted, trembling. You're hurt, she whispered. His voice was thin. My body wasn't made for this much power. I'm burning my energy too fast. She held him tighter. Then don't use it anymore. Stay alive. That's all I want. Evan closed his eyes, resting his head against her shoulder. I'm sorry I hid the truth. You were afraid, she said softly. I understand now. Other warriors slowly entered the corridor, staring at the destroyed Kragor common. And the glowing marks on the floor. One whispered, a human did this? Another said, we thought humans were weak. Lyris stood tall, arms around Evan. This human saved all of you. Evan opened his eyes and looked up at her. I didn't want you to find out like this. She smiled gently. But I'm glad I did. He hesitated. Do you still want me? Even after knowing what I am? Lyris touched his cheek softly. You are not a weapon to me. You're my partner. His eyes softened, full of relief and something warm, something human. Crew members assisted them toward the medical bay. Some looked at Evan with fear. Others with awe. But Lyris kept her arm around him, shielding him, supporting him. When they reached the med room, Evan finally spoke again, his voice tired but steady. I never planned to use my power again. But for you, I would do it every time. Lyris leaned her forehead against his. You don't have to, because now, we face everything together. Evan smiled weakly. Outside the med room window, the stars stretched like silver rivers across the dark. A quiet peace settled over the ship. Lyris held his hand. Rest. You're safe. Evan's eyes drifted shut. But before sleep took him, he whispered, with you. I'm finally not running. And Lyris knew their story had only just begun. End.